Just clap.
Okay, I'll.
Okay. Anywhere, just clap. By a microphone, yeah.
Scene one, take one. Mark?
There we go. Okay.
You realize that's going to be the
We're good?
opening to
Yeah,
this
that's
whole
what
thing.
we're
That's
keeping
it.
it.
That's you made it.
I
You
feel like
made
this
it.
was the best slate ever.
We're keeping that on.
All right, action.
Hey, so welcome back to our second episode of Gen Exodus. We are now warmed up, ready to go, ready to rock and roll. I'm your host, Ali Nikelski, the owner of the Zeitgeist Film Festival. I'm here with Scott Schuster, who was here in our first episode, and we got our 2-cent cam over there with Rachel Lee.
Hi, it's now the Diva Cam.
It's that.
apparently.
I thought we were going to wait at least 5 episodes.
No.
It's
She started already.
I already
She's
started.
on roll with technology.
Yes.
The permutations, exponential.
I already have a taste of fame, and it's going to my head.
She came back. She's like all glammed out. I love it. So in this one, episode 2, rightfully so, is called Deuces, and we're going to explain what that means for year 2022. Yes. So let's preempt this with what we're going to talk about. There has been a significant post-pandemic exodus, if you will, to coin our term, from the rat race, from the working conditions, from just employment and the way we've built up 20th and 21st century life. So I was scrolling last night with my friend Scott through YouTube, and I would love for everybody to check out this video. I like to source things before I just start talking out of my hat. It's called The Great Resignation, and you can find it on News Nation now, and it's been called this by several other resources. What is that? Well, since September of this year, there has been 4.4 million people leaving their jobs. And 1.2 million since 2020 have been industry workers. So we're going to examine that of why we surmise this is happening.
Well, it's happening to me actually directly. I mean, the
Oh,
pandemic.
is that why you're the guest today?
I guess so.
is that why you're here? Do tell. Do tell.
Well, I mean, the pandemic was it sped everything up. It really did.
We had been talking about, we're going to retire to the islands.
Absolutely. One day we're going to go to the islands.
To corporate rat race. We had been fantasizing about this for years.
Yeah. The pandemic, though, it kind of put everything into perspective. And for some, including myself, I realized that life was more important than work. And it's about the quality of life that one can have, and the quality of food that you can attain, and the quality of the water that you can drink. And it's done without the infrastructure of, say, the modern world.
Well, and it's that indoctrination of you have to work 30 years at a job you hate to one day enjoy your life.
We are the only species that has to actually work in order to eat. I mean, let me say, go to a job in order to eat. You have to work to actually, catch your food. But it's not. You don't have to be employed and pay for it in cash if you're,
Right. So
not
people they're seeing this as a crisis, right? So they're like, they interviewed this guy. He's like, I can't fill the shifts I'm like, shifts? We both almost cringed because we used to work in the industry, the food and hospitality industry, for years to facilitate artistic lifestyles, because you had the flexibility, you could take off work, so we waited tables. I was in the hotel business for years. There are so many people in that industry that are deuce out, and they're seeing it as a problem. He's like, I can't, the word shift made me cringe. The idea of putting on a uniform, putting in your billfold.
For 8 or 6 hours, however long your shift
Having
is.
your bank.
Having your bank.
Your pepper grinder or your crummer.
Billfold, your bank, your pens.
And that's
The
something.
pepper grinder in some cases.
The service industry is a very viable way to make a living. I made a lot of money in
We made
Chicago
good
at
money.
waiting tables. A lot of money,
I
like 6
bartended.
figures.
Great money.
It can be fantastic money. At the same right, it is what I call the golden handcuffs. Because you may be making the money, but you're handcuffed to taking shifts. And, as a performer, as an artist, the restaurant actually took over. Right. And before I knew it, I wasn't auditioning anymore. I wasn't going out there getting jobs.
You're hanging out with your friends at work.
And I'll never forget the day I quit waiting tables. I was in Denver, Colorado. It was in
first,
2014.
we were there living together.
You were there in 2014?
Yeah.
I was there
Were
in
there?
2014.
Oh, nice.
I wonder if we saw each other.
Yeah.
We were all there at the same time?
Ooh, that is what we call serendipity.
It's the-
Serendipity.
Yeah.
Oh, weird. We'll have to talk about that later.
I worked maybe 5 jobs.
By
but I
that
quit.
point,
Yeah. I was like, this is right before I moved to Europe and made the decision where I was like, I'm getting my PhD. I'm done. I'm done waiting tables. So Scott and I had gone through a plethora of shitty jobs, and we were like getting older. We're like, what the hell are we doing with our lives? We had Groundhog Day. We called it Groundhog Day, where we're sitting our laptops outside, like just trying to reformat our life.
I was 34, 35 years old at the time, and I was working at a breakfast joint.
The Egg and I.
I didn't want to throw the name out there, but yeah, it was called the Egg and I, and
It was so degrading.
it was humiliating.
Oh,
And-
what
Cherry-
about
was
Texas
that in Cherry
Roadhouse?
Creek?
I had to do like a.
I'm sorry.
Was that in Cherry Creek?
Yes.
There was one in Cherry Creek, but no, the one I worked at was in
Englewood.
Inglewood. Yeah, it was.
Okay,
So
well,
that's
at
not
least
the
you didn't
one.
have to
I know the owner of one.
You didn't have
That's
to do the boot, scoot, and boogie at the
At the
Texas
Texas Roadhouse.
There was
or-
hot food in the window, and I wanted to run the food, and they're like, "No, you have to go do the like 2-step." And I'm like, "I'm gonna run my food." Like it was so humiliating.
What's the humiliation of the jobs? And you know, I'll never forget the day I quit waiting tables. Though I
Right.
was
There's a great story.
I was just walking through a banquet room, and there was a group of entrepreneurs, and they were having a big party. And the gentleman who was leading the group, he said, as I was opening the door to walk out, he said, "Are you making decisions in your life today based on fear, based upon where you're going to have your rent, where you're going to have, how you're going to make your rent, how you're going to make your
Short-term
mortgage,
decisions,
short-term
yeah.
decisions, these short-term payments, are they scaring you to make these decisions? Or are you making decisions based upon where you want to be a year from now?"
Years
And
from now.
No, he said a year from now.
Oh, I thought.
And
he
at
said-
that moment in time, I took my apron off and I handed it to the hostess and I walked right out. And it was like, that was the last I ever did. That very week, I was offered a design job,
Right.
which I did at a theater up in Boulder, Colorado. And 2 months later, I had this gig that I have now. And so I've had a permanent, steady gig in theater for 7 years. I had to close that door in order to open
And you
something
came home
new.
and told me that story, and I was like, I'm gonna move to England. Like literally,
Yeah, and
we made those decisions within a week.
Absolutely.
We're like, we're done.
So
We're
something
done.
so something as big as what I have planned in 2022 is just a natural thing for somebody like you or I. We're
Right.
very adventurous spirit, and you know I think that it's time for somebody like me to leave the workforce, and I have quit my job.
That was Kush.
Which is
it was,
it's shocking to me because I've
It's a
often
field
said
that
I have
you
the
love.
I have the best job in the world for me.
you
you
weren't
know?
waiting tables. You were actually doing what you love.
Creating theater every single day, all day, every day, and I was in charge of it. I had creative control
For
of
the
things.
first time in
and
your
who
life, you
does
were
that?
financially stable. For the first time in your life, you had your bills paid. and
Able
you
to make
worried-
money, able to have my
Yeah.
health insurance. All of that was taken care of, and I quit.
Well,
I quit. I've worked there now for a year. We've done about a year's worth of shows, and my partner and I, he works for FedEx, and he quit his job. I think it was 2 months ago.
so did anybody see at the time of this recording, there was something on the news about that FedEx guy in Alabama that just chucked all his FedEx boxes out in the woods, and people were like, during the holidays, where's our packages? And I just thought, do you remember in Fast Times at Ridgemont High where Judge Reinhold was hot in his pirate outfit and that hot chick? He just starts throwing the
Yeah.
He quit
He didn't
and
just
threw all the
quit.
chicken
Yeah,
out.
He didn't just quit. He was throwing the shit out the window. I think that FedEx guy was like, I'm not just quitting. I'm throwing the
I'm done.
shit.
I'm
Deuces.
done.
Deuces.
And that's what it's about. So we
Right.
quit our jobs and we bought a house. Now, well, we are closing on a house in January in Puerto Rico, and we are starting a whole new life. People think we're absolutely nuts, but
You're not going out there to be an idiot, though. You're like, you got 2 jets. You're going to have a jet ski business with the film.
Correct.
I mean, with the fishing.
correct. We're gonna become charter fishermen,
Right.
jet ski, tourism.
You've
guides.
already started your own YouTube channel, which, by the way, shameless self-promotion, which is called.
Absolutely. My YouTube channel is Dos Gringos of the Caribbean.
Right. So we
yes.
got that. We're going to do cross-promotion, cross-vlogging. We're going to do all kinds of fun stuff.
Absolutely, but it's an embracing of the new technology. This is the first time in my life that I'm trying to get on the curve in the cusp of technology. It's
Well, the
something that's
funny
new
thing
for
is
me.
my professor last year, we was all on Zoom, and all I did was bitch and complain because I hated Zoom. He's like, yeah, but now you can take meetings from anywhere. You can work from anywhere. So when I told him I was going, he's like, well, what are you going to do? I was like, I can work from anywhere. Like,
Taking your advice.
I'm taking your advice. Deuces. Like, I could do location scouting there. I'll do my podcast from there. And guess how much a ticket is from LA to Puerto Rico if I do have to come back? Like a matter of $300, right? So why can't we make our lives work for us? Why do we have to be in this?
Well, and that's what I think that a lot of
Tattered.
people in the Gen X generation
Yes.
are doing right now, because the vast majority of people who are leaving the workforce are either baby boomers who are being forced to retire
Right.
or are retiring.
There's
at this
bougie
point.
people that are like, they think it's cool. They're like, I'm done with my corporate job. I'm going to move to Martha's Vineyard and live off the grid. But yeah, you have the money to do that. So there's those people.
Correct, and there's also the Gen Xers who were brought up with that belief that
The
we
bill
can
of
do
goods.
anything, and that belief that as long as you work hard enough, you can attain it. I still have that, regardless
do
of how many times
too.
it's been I've beaten out of me.
I watched
still
The
have
Karate
that.
Kid and I'm like, you can make it happen.
But I really think the overwhelming sentiment more than anything else, though, is if the pandemic didn't wake us up as a society,
Right.
we always have to learn from what we just went through, and what we're learning is that the Earth is not happy with us. Global warming is real. Scientists just told us that we killed the planet. We have passed that tipping point. So where are we going to be in 20 years from now? And that's really the question that I'm trying to solve for myself and my partner. How are we going to source our own food? Right now we have record shortages out there.
But it's not, okay, so it's not just that, Scott, though. Remember what we were talking about is this collective anxiety we're feeling is that we want to be at peace, right? We want to
Absolutely.
enjoy the rest of our years, not waiting till we're 60, 70, and we're burnt out. I don't want to wait till some future year where I can finally enjoy my life. If this is it is happening, I don't say if. Like, I want to enjoy the rest of the earth as it is, enjoy the beaches, and enjoy my life instead of freaking out every goddamn day watching the news. I'm done. I'm peacing out.
Absolutely. And it might be a little bit of a ostrich in the head in the sand, and I've said this before, because if I get out to Puerto Rico, when I get out to Puerto Rico in a couple months, I don't speak the language as well as I would like to, so I don't understand the nuances of the politics out there, or the nuances of neighbors fighting each other over stupid stuff like I do here. I live in a very Trump country state. I live in Iowa right now, and the beating of the drum is out there. I mean, they're taking everybody's rights away. Roe versus Wade is hanging in the balance. And
Oh, my God.
if that goes, so does gay rights.
And people
so does
think I'm
interracial
being-
marriage. So
people
do all the
think
things that
I'm-
we take for
right,
granted
when
in
they
society
think
today.
I'm speaking hyperbole when I
No.
say Handmaid's Tale. Oh, ha ha ha! It's never going to be like that. The fact that it's even on the table, that people are even discussing it, that idea is even out there, makes me extremely uncomfortable. It really does. I can't even believe that it's even being discussed.
Reading the history books, I was always scared as a child, or I would be thoughtful about those people reading about World War II, and I would always ask myself, why didn't they see it coming, and why couldn't they have left the country? I'm not trying to compare our situation today with that. That's not the point of this. What I'm trying to say is that I see other things coming, and if I don't prepare myself,
To
then I'm
quote,
just as, I'm not a victim, and I will never be a victim.
to
I will
quote
always be.
Phil Collins, you
decide
can
my
feel it
future.
coming in the air tonight.
Absolutely.
Like there's something in the air.
Absolutely.
And I think that we are very susceptible to just feel that, like, collective. There's something going on. And obviously for my PhD, I've been studying apocalyptic culture for 5-6 years now. And that's all I've done is been studying, like, how we have this desire, collective desire to end it all because we're just exhausted. It's like a mass exhaustion. And I'm exhausted. And I think we do. Anxiety is a pandemic.
Yeah.
So forget all the people that are like, oh, climate change, blah, blah, blah. What is wrong with enjoying your life? Like, why do I have to apologize for that?
There is nothing wrong with that. The reason why you have to apologize is because other people don't allow themselves to enjoy it as well. When I tell people that
So
I'm,
you've been meeting with, tell us how you've been met with.
when I tell
yeah.
people that I'm moving to Puerto Rico, a lot of the baby boomer generation, they look at me in two ways. It's either, oh, you're skipping a step, and they
Tell
look
us
at me
about your
like
mom.
kind of disdain. They're confused. My mom is very confused on how, you're leaving a job that you love, the first time you've ever been stable in your life, and you're leaving it. She's
What about
she
your
doesn't understand
benefits?
about
My
that.
mom cares about benefits.
Well,
The benefit is I will be on the beach listening to the ocean waves.
the benefit is that I will be able to also dictate my own diet. I'm not relying on the grocery stores at that
Well,
point
Rachel
in time.
talks about that all the time, about our food supply.
Our food supply is killing
It's
us.
poison.
It's
Our
poison.
food is poison.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is that Belle Biv DeVoe?
What?
That girl is poison.
Our food is poison.
Our food is poison.
Poison.
That's good.
It is because, like in Europe, and I always say the bad things about Europe. The good thing about Europe was I didn't have to go to the store and read every goddamn label because they are so strict with their
Yeah.
regulations about what shit goes in their food and what doesn't, like additives, dyes, whatever. Here, I'm in the grocery store nonstop, making sure like there's one ingredient in my food, not a fucking.
In Puerto Rico, we were up in the mountains and we were hungry. We were looking for a little restaurant, and there was nothing. I'm saying there was nothing up there. And literally, we stopped the car, we got out, we picked some mangoes off the tree, and we ate them right there. It is food abundant out there. The house that we just purchased, we have 3 avocado trees, we have coconut palms, we have guinepas, we have, I think there's a papaya. I'm going to be planting dragon fruit. We're going to have a whole raised garden and just grow our own food year round. We're planning to catch our own fish and make ceviche, fresh ceviche, and all that sort of stuff. And we're going to really try and control our diet more than anything else, including the water that we drink. Right now, a lot of our water in the infrastructure in the United States comes through lead pipes. Out there, you can literally go to those springs that they're bottling and sending to the United States, and I can just stand out there with my own jugs and take that water.
You said jugs.
That's a Beavis and Butthead moment right there.
I know. Well, what I like about this though too is that some people are thinking you're off the grid, you're piecing out of life, but we're like you just showed me yesterday.
No, I'm actually I'm joining life. I think for the first
there's
time.
Like there's a bay where people like jet ski up to the restaurants. I'm like, that's where I'm going to do my jet ski film festival. Like there's already built-in people out there jet skiing to the restaurants, and I said I'm just going to put up my screen right there and jet ski to the screen. Like we are going to have so much fun doing what we're doing now, just without the
It's still work. It's just kind of, I guess, what people would call a working retirement more than anything else.
Yeah. Oh, so is this a retirement, would you say?
A retirement? No, because that means you don't work. Like, I think that I'm always the type of person to work. We're of a generation that's not going to get the Social Security. Our 401ks have been depleted to make a down payment on a house if we were lucky enough to have them. The price of everything is so expensive that 401k for a lot of people just becomes a savings account that they can withdraw from rather than a long-term savings. So as far as retiring, good luck with that. No, I want to be self-sufficient so I don't have to even worry about money.
What if everybody did this? What if everybody just decided to do Deuces?
Well, it would put a strain on the island that I'm trying to move to, that's for sure. I don't know. The economy would collapse.
But is it going to anyway?
Atlas has shrugged, yes. Yes. It's very evident we've crossed the tipping point in a lot of areas. Overpopulation right now, it's put a scarcity on the food supply. That's why we have to mass produce all this cattle and everything.
Well, we're seeing all these shortages already, right? Like, and prices are just going up. I can't believe it. I don't mean to be like, oh, prices in my day, you could get this for a nickel and sound like my dad, but I really see a change.
You're getting past a note there.
Uh-oh.
You have a note.
I really appreciate that you spelled your correctly.
Well, I can spell.
That's one of the things I can't stand on Tinder. If a guy says you're hot, but it's Y-O-U-R, I just delete. If you can't spell your correctly, you could have told me that. You didn't have to pass a note. I was
Well, you were
shaking.
in the middle of talking.
Oh, okay. I was shaking my table, guys, because I'm a shaker.
Well, the mic is going throughout your.
Is that an aesthetic? Can we use that later?
I'm not sure.
Can we use that? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm shaking. Why am I shaking?
You're on the table and you're moving it, and it's moving your mic stand.
See.
It's chilly in here. It's a little cold, so you're keeping warm.
Give the diva a diva cam, and now I'm in the hot seat.
That's not the hot
I'm in
seat.
the hot seat.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's go back to some things that are being implemented in other countries, such as the 4-day work week. why can't Americans get on board with being productive? If we love capitalism and we love productivity, why are we making everybody work to the bone and just exhausted? What is the end game for us to all be freaking exhausted?
Because it makes a lot of money for a lot of other
But does
people.
it? The studies
Not
have
us.
been proven.
Hold on.
Not
Not
us.
us.
Oh.
Not us.
No.
It's not about us.
Absolutely, it's not about us. Like the policies that were put into place in the 1980s with the Reagan administration and everything else kind of sealed the deal on all that. That's what started separating. That's why there is no middle class.
But
That's
if
why I
we
think Gen
all
X is
drop
so
dead-
disillusioned right now, because we were promised a middle class
If we
lifestyle.
all drop dead, though, how does that benefit the elite? They will have no workers. They will have nothing coming up,
Because-
trickle up effect.
But that's why they wanted, that's why you want to know why they're wanting to overturn Roe v. Wade is so that they can get more babies in the world.
Oh, it's always
So-
let's produce more consumers. That's right.
But that's why. So when people die off, there's more people to replace. They don't care. The point is to make us believe, like you keep talking about the work hard, like that's a true thing. But on the other hand, like that's the capitalist, like just driving force. It's like you can have this if you just work hard, just
Right.
work harder, work harder, work
harder.
harder. And it's a lie. It just makes them more money. Like every time we have the recession in 2008, and the pandemic now, people drop off, their profits go up. They don't care if people don't come to work. It's fewer people they have to pay. The people that are left will work harder. That's the answer.
How many more hours a week can you work until?
I mean, we don't, but there are people that work 20 hours a day if they have to, whatever it
Absolutely.
takes.
I watch a YouTube channel dedicated to financial advice and this sort of stuff, and he says, you know, after your job, go out and get a job doing Uber or something else. You know, hustle and make that money for your retirement. Put that in your investment. And I'm thinking to myself, like, the last thing I want to do after I get done with my salary job, where I'm working sometimes up to 65 hours a week to get a show off
Oh, it's
the
a
ground.
side gig. Yeah.
But why should you have to?
I
You
shouldn't have to.
Why should you have to?
I
Why
shouldn't
should
have to.
anyone who works full time have to go drive Uber on the side to either put enough food on
Or
the
just to have
table,
fun money.
or to be able to save?
Weren't we talking
Where's
about that, Rachel?
savings?
We used to have fun money.
There's no such thing.
Well, in
But
part
you
of the
know what
reason
your
why
fun money is? Get another credit card, because that also
Yeah.
feeds capitalism. So they don't. It's not meant for us to succeed.
Absolutely. No, it's designed for
It's
us to
designed
keep
for
us in
us
debt, to keep us in a bad debt, because there's such thing as good debt,
I
you know,
mean,
house debt.
I
And then they
understand.
have the money and they do the big houses and all the stuff, and they go, look what happens if you just try, guys. You're
Oh,
not trying enough.
It's like a pyramid scheme. Like the entire
Yeah.
thing is a pyramid scheme.
yeah.
But
It's your bootstraps.
In my mind, though, the studies in Scandinavia and places that have 4-day work weeks, they're making more money because they're more productive and they're not burnt out. So it's
Correct.
antithetical to what, if they do want more money, then don't have us all burnt
But
out.
there's no. That's why the captains of industry are not there. They're here.
Yeah. I would agree with you on that. I would also say, though, kind of conversely, that at my job, I'm given the freedom to make my own schedule. I can go in when I want. I can leave when I want, as long as
the work is
the
done.
show on opening night is finished. You know,
Right.
I can do it whenever I want. 3 a.m. if I want to come in, that's fine. I find that I'm most productive for about 6 hours a day, and I can really work for 6 hours.
Right.
Now, those other 2 hours, I'm finding stuff to do or just kind of moping around. I think that we are overworked. I think the 8-hour workday really needs to be looked at. I do think, though, that when you have something like what I'm about to do, it's not about the hard work. It's not about the hours that I'm about to put in, because I'm working for me.
Oh, when I did the festival,
And-
I worked like 15, 16-hour days. Like, I didn't care because it was my project.
Absolutely.
But I knew it wasn't going to be forever. It's like a project. So it was
That's
like for a
what
month.
Gen X is starting to do right now. They're starting to realize that I don't need to work for you.
Right.
I can
Well,
work for me,
right.
especially with YouTube and platforms. I don't know what platform this podcast will be on, but this platform are allowing people to monetize their ideas. You know, as long as you're offering value to the audience by who's listening to it, you're going to gain some listeners. I was surprised with our YouTube channel. We only have a few videos out. We just kind of did them as test videos, and the response that we got was kind of overwhelming.
People
And that's
love
why we're like, we
content.
can do this.
We need content.
You know, as long as you have a good personality and you're giving value to somebody who's watching, they can learn something, they can find something new, whatever that value is to them. They're entertained, whatever it is.
And your viewers are not limited to local. Like, you got international potential there.
I would say 25% of our viewers right now are from Puerto Rico or abroad. You know, and so we're definitely starting to get that audience, and I'm very excited.
But I
for
mean,
it.
the idea, because we still have dreams of where we're like in the weeds, or we're still doing our waiting tables.
Anxiety dreams,
Totally
definitely.
anxiety dreams, where I'm like at the computer putting an order in, and I turn back and I have like 5 tables, and I'm like, I'm not. The idea of ever having a job where I have to clock in, like, it gives me the heebie-jeebies.
And I think it gives most people the heebie-jeebies. So given the opportunity that the pandemic, not only the opportunity that happened when we all took a stop and took a breather, especially those in the service industry or those in my industry, we were also told by Congress that we don't make enough money. We were put on unemployment, and then they gave us the pandemic extra. And I was making more money on unemployment than I had with my salaried position that I was working 60, sometimes 70 hours a week. You know, and I thought I was making good money. I was living in Iowa where the cost of living is very low. So the money that I was making was very good. I was still able to put some money into savings while I was working. But the money that I got during the pandemic was above and beyond that. And then they finally realized that. So it just goes to show you how out of touch our lawmakers
and
are actually
they said,
with
they
what's
don't
going
wanna
on
go
down
back
here.
to work. They won't want to go back to work with unemployment. Damn right I don't want to go back to work. I just found out what I'm really
You gave me a
worth.
little taste of
Yeah.
freedom.
But what's
And
funny is, like, even with the bump up, the PUA or whatever it was, even with that, it was still only like $20 an hour or something like that.
Right.
you're right.
Like, it was not $100,000 a year
No.
money.
And they
like,
were acting like they were giving us free money. They were acting like we were.
Well,
I mean, it's free money.
it
but,
was, well,
But what I'm saying
we
is,
put
they were
into
acting
it.
like people were, like, you know, getting rich off of it.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah, and
who-
not wanting to go back to work
how
because
many
of
of
that.
how many of those $20 an hour is like $25,000 a year? Like, that's it. That's all it
it's-
was. So, you know, for people to be like, and that's above
Well, that's how
a living
out of
wage.
touch our
Right.
representatives
That's
are.
above a living wage.
and it may have
you
been
should want to work for less than that,
That's how out of touch our representatives are.
right?
it may be free money to us, right? It may be that free money.
But we put into
But
the system.
I'm going to
all
argue
these
they've been
years.
giving free money away for a very long time, but it's just been given to the rich and the elite in corporate subsidies.
It's
and
still there.
Tax breaks for the elites and those sorts of ways. They give more money away up there than they ever did to the bottom.
And they always will.
They made a mistake. And they retracted it. If you notice right away, then they pulled that money away from us as soon as they possibly could.
Okay, so let's go back to Exodus. We fight the system. We can be like, hey, let's change this, or we're out of here.
But we can't change the system.
right.
It's so baked
What
into
are
the
our
cake at
choices
this
Well,
at
point.
this
especially
point?
we also can't change the system when we operate outside of the system, which is what we've all chosen to do. A lot of us, many
Right.
of us, and so we do not have the, you know, the fiscal hooks in there to be able to pull them out.
right, right.
You know, it's like if I boycott something, like, who cares? I'm not spending any money on anything
Right.
anyway. So we don't have that buying power
No.
Right.
as
If
a
I boycott
generation.
something,
We
they're
don't.
like,
And
"Oh,
like
who
you said, we're a
cares?"
smaller generation anyway. So, I mean, we can do what we can, but I mean, the reality is we don't have the economic impact. So,
Or political impact.
or political
We don't have
impact
the
or anything. So, at
representation.
what point do we go, well, I'm just not going to play at all?
It-
And I think
that's what we were
that's
talking
the
about
I think
last
that's
night.
the
That's-
real crux of it.
Absolutely.
called
You
it
hit the nail on the head
Just
right
even
there.
doing this podcast when I should be doing a thesis film, I'm bucking the system. And you were like, that's very Gen X of you. And so this paradigm shift that we're going through as a generation, I think Gen Xers are going to be the best equipped to be navigating through this new frontier of post-pandemic life.
Well, we've had some hard bumps that have set us back several times. You know,
bomb scare?
There was 9/11. There was 2008 that happened. That now the pandemic. It's been 3 huge things within our adult life that have shook the fabric of what we knew America to be.
We also grew up in the Cold War, so there was also
Yeah.
that
Oh,
too.
yeah.
So, you know, I mean, it's been a whole life of that. You know,
Of-
but what we have to be careful of, I think, is, you know, I hear a lot of Gen X people that are very dismissive of a lot of the new things that are coming.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think we have to be really careful of that. You know, cryptocurrency and we laugh at NFTs and all that. So like, that's great. We can sit and laugh at it, but that's the future. And the more we laugh at it, the more we're going to be boomers in the next 10 years, not knowing what's going on.
Completely feel you. I completely feel you. Although my argument would be against, the cryptocurrencies
Is the environmental
it's destroying
impact.
the planet quicker than anything else that we've ever done.
No, I agree. I'm just saying, like, being on the outside of it and we sit and laugh at it like
well,
it's
it's one
stupid.
thing-
Well, I've joined cryptocurrency. I actually, my boyfriend has really, really, really pushed me to start accepting technology. He was the one who pushed me to start the YouTube channel and to start these things. And he showed me a lot the way with a lot of these things, and I do see the value in them. But I've always my college thesis was actually anti-technology. I wrote this whole essay. This was in 1999 when I graduated, so it was before the boom and everything else. And it was about how technology was going to destroy interpersonal communication. And it has. You see
has.
nobody relating to each other anymore. Everybody's on their cell phones. There's this disconnect that we have now in society.
Well, I see it in my students a lot when I'm teaching at the college level. I feel like they have something missing, and I feel sorry. I'm like, dude, you're all like in a room, but you're all like texting. Like, what happened to just hanging out? Like, and I feel like they yearn for that connection that they didn't get, like that we did. They want it, they just don't know how to do it. But going back to your point about what Rachel's point was, actually not your point.
Oh.
Screw your
Not my
point, Scott.
Your point about sitting back and laughing. Yeah, we used to do that all the time. Like, we'd be like, that's so stupid. That's dumb. It's not that you have to embrace it and love it, but understand it.
You have to.
You have to understand its
Absolutely.
ramifications and be able to critique it from a point where you did study it and you do understand it instead of just rejecting it outright.
Well, I
'Cause
mean,
then you're empowered with the information and knowledge.
right. I mean, the reality is that, every generation is guilty of this. Oh, those Beatles with their long hair. And we look at like, they didn't have long hair. Like, what are you even talking about? But that was really long hair, And so we have to, all of these generations look back on the younger generations and go, oh, you kids, one day when you grow up, you'll see what it's really like. And the reality is the world changes towards the youth. It never changes the other way. So, like, what's gone is gone. It's not coming back.
But
right?
I would argue that the world never changed for us, though.
No, but it is
It
going
is
to, is
for
what
the
I'm saying.
millennials, yeah.
It is, though. I'm saying 20 years from now, these babies that you look and you see a baby and he looks at a picture on a magazine and does this with like a 6-month-old to try to expand it or zoom on it. The world is changing for that.
Yeah.
And you see the little kids and they don't play video games anymore. Now they watch other people playing games on like
Twitch or
Twitch
streaming
and
or-
YouTube
yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. They don't even play. They just watch people play. Like, and when you're talking about virtual reality and all that stuff, like that's the reality of what's coming. And it's not going to just come here and then go away.
No.
So, and that's what I'm saying by, I think that it's right. I think maybe 50 years on the other side of that, people will be like, oh shit, that was a bad idea.
Right.
But it will be here and that's what I'm saying. We need to be careful as a generation of completely just distancing ourselves from all of that, because we will find ourselves even more on the outside
Well, that's what I was telling
and
Scott.
not with no way in, because we can't even speak the language.
Right. We don't have the luxury of the boomers. Like, my mom has never owned a computer, but she has the luxury. She doesn't have to. We're like old enough to not be able to be hip to all that, but we're still too young to retire like the boomers. So we're in this weird, funky
We have to.
age.
Yeah, where we grew up with Oregon Trail,
We grew up with Apple IIe,
Apple
floppy
IIe,
disks.
What was it, Pong?
Pong,
and-
Atari. Yeah.
Frogger?
Right.
I loved Frogger.
And I love all that. But the thing is, like, we need to be hip to what you were just saying,
You have to.
or be of the way of the dinosaurs. Where
So-
the boomers are like, ooh, I don't know what that is. Well, great. You don't need to.
But how can you
I
be
do.
a part of
But
that
we have to.
revolution? I think with this podcast, you're starting to be part of that new revolution. I think that you're talking virtual reality. In the case like myself, I'm going to get a 3D camera. And you know what I'm going to do? When I jump off that waterfall in Puerto Rico, I'm going to film it in 3D.
Ooh,
and
it's
I'll
like
sell
Strange
it to those
Days,
companies.
Catherine
So
Bigelow.
those companies can then program it for other people to enjoy. But you know what? I'm not going to be that person enjoying it. That's where I draw the line.
Correct.
I don't
Right,
want
right.
to be the one
We'll
behind
provide
the
it to
screen.
you guys, but we're going to be out doing the low-tech life.
Absolutely.
And I
want the-
acknowledge I want the tech life
I want
to
the
facilitate my
the
low-tech
analog
life.
version is the one
Well,
that I
I
want.
think what we could do if we were smart and organized and didn't just want to party is figure out is to figure out how to
Never
be
say
the
that.
bridge. To be the bridge. I think that going back. I mean, I think is to be the bridge between the two because, like,
agree.
I mean, I used to be. I can't even. I've come to the age. It's been about 2 years now that I'm like, okay, now I'm old. Like now, finally, for the very first time, 2 years ago, I guess, I'm like, there's no new music that I like. Like I've always been able to find a couple of artists here and there. I mean, there's a few, but that I like
There's
now.
no scene that you resonate with.
Right. And
Like, yeah,
and,
I can find some music I like, but I'm not part of the scene. I'm not part
right.
of that movement.
You're just like outside of it.
Yeah.
And I, like pick up a People magazine or whatever. I'm like, I don't know who any of these people
Yeah,
are.
yeah. Somebody
And
said
I'm like,
Selena Gomez the other day. I was like,
no, but
who?
Selena Gomez is
that's
she's
old.
old.
Wow. I still,
Well, she's not. I mean, it's not,
She's not old.
she's
I'm
not old,
saying
but
she's been around a long
for a
time.
Oh,
while.
wow, I still
I'm
don't know who
talking
she
about
is.
like there's like a whole pop culture
Oh,
of
and not only
YouTube
that, the
stars
Instagram
and stuff,
stars,
Instagram
yeah,
and
influencers.
that I don't know who any of them are.
Yeah.
And they have like millions of followers, and we are not a part of that conversation at
But
all.
to
And we're
be
out here
fair-
like trying to like red carpet it up with whoever.
And nobody cares about red carpets anymore. In my
no.
class, I'm like the oldest in my class, and everybody's like, "Did you watch the Oscars?" Everybody's like, "No." Like nobody cares about that anymore.
I would say influences are kind of everything right now.
They really
I mean,
are.
Everything.
But I don't. Here's the thing: the frontier is so vast. We grew up with 3 network channels until Fox came, right? All the pop culture and everything was right there. Word of mouth, MTV. I can't even navigate what's cool anymore.
Right.
Even if I want to know, I don't know where to find it. It used to be word of mouth. I tell you, oh, this cool song came on, and like we share. It's all
Or radio. Like
yeah.
there's no radio.
There's so many streaming channels. Everybody's like, oh, did you see this show on this channel? I'm like, I didn't even know that channel existed.
oh, but that's the beauty of it because
Like-
whoever finds this particular podcast,
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm
it-
going to make the content, and
Yeah.
now I'll have my niche and my community, and they will find me.
Yeah.
Instead of me trying to be, and I feel you because I feel flustered. I feel like I'm not cool anymore. I want to be,
Well,
but
actually,
like I don't even know how to be.
I think you're cool.
Oh, well,
actually, you are
you're
cool. You just started your own podcast. That takes a lot of
Right?
balls, there, girl. It
It
takes,
takes
some moxie.
Besides,
bought-
we're,
we bought-
we're still young to the boomers.
I hate
I
that,
know.
And that's why they don't take it seriously.
I will always
Every
be my
time
mother's little boy.
Every
you know?
time I talk to a boomer, they're like, "Oh, you're still a kid." Da, da, da. I'm like, "Dude, I'm
What did your
fucking
aunt tell you?
46."
What did your aunt say?
She's the one. I don't trust you guys.
Yeah, I don't trust you
We,
guys
not I don't. We don't trust you. We as boomers don't trust you, Gen Xers.
to take over.
I mean, I don't know that I blame them. I don't know that I
We
trust them.
partied. I mean, we're not going to take it. All the MTV videos are us giving the finger to authority, our parents crashing through the ceiling because we're playing our music too loud. I crashed the car in '93. And then I just got a flat tire over Thanksgiving, and my mom was like, "Oh, this is why you can't drive the car." I am not allowed to drive the family car because I crashed my car in '93.
I was in that said car when it was
You were-
crashed.
you were
Actually,
in said
I was
car.
one of the how many people in it? 7 or 8
We had
people
7
in a
people
car
in my Grand Am doing Dukes of Hazzard to Carmina Burana
in the snow, in the mountains,
in the ice.
on the ice. Yeah. Not
Okay,
smart.
so we
All
were
right.
a little irresponsible. So what?
No, I agree.
Right?
I
Like we
know.
partied. What's wrong with loving life? Okay, deuces. We're gonna go party. Like it's.
Oh well, I'm not going to go
2022.
party. No,
Oh, well, he just told me in Isabella for Christmas, you go and have a shot at everybody's house.
That's
It's like prayer
it's.
lane.
I
So
forget
you're
what
not
the
gonna party
term
my
is.
ass.
I forget what the term is, but it's a neighborhood party where they stand in your driveway and they sing Christmas carols until the owner of the house comes out and actually drinks with them, and then you go to the next house and you do the same thing. It's kind of like Christmas carols with booze.
Okay,
And
So
it's-
we'll see you December 24th.
come on down. I mean,
it's not about partying though. Now I think now that we're older, it's about enjoying life. I think when we say party, we're like in the moment. We're enjoying each other's company. We're enjoying the music. We're live.
well, and I think that's kind of been
That's-
a downfall of our generation is that we have been too much in the moment and
We're
not
always in the moment.
thinking about our futures. And that's
That's
you know,
kind of my point when I'm like, why should they trust us?
yeah.
That was
I
my
mean,
point
don't-
with politics too. I didn't care about voting when I was younger because I was like, I don't give a shit.
But
It's all
I've
fucking
known
same.
since I was a lot younger that Social Security they've been saying is not going to be around for us, right? They've been telling us that for years. So kind of that's been my philosophy is why do I need to worry about it then? If they're not going to worry about it, I'm going to have to figure it out eventually. But I think that we've forgotten, I look at nostalgia and that's my past self, my present self is here, but we've forgotten that my best friend really should be my future self. My future self is who I should be looking out for down the road because I will be my future self one day, and I want that future self to succeed. So
But
I
you
need to
ain't
start
getting that
making
from
those
Social
plans now.
Security. That's
Oh,
the
absolutely not. So that's
pile
part of
of
the reason why it's
crap.
becoming easier to move to Puerto Rico because When I move
What do
out
you got
there,
to
I
lose?
don't have federal taxes to pay. I don't have Social Security that I'm putting in. I'm
That
not
you're not
going
gonna
to
get out.
I will pay state taxes to Puerto Rico because that's the tax structure there. But the federal taxes go away. So automatically, depending on what your tax bracket is, you're going to be making 25 to 30%
here's the
more.
thing. Forget that.
Automatically,
I don't mind
there's
paying
your
taxes.
there's
No,
your
no, no.
long-term
Right.
investment.
I don't mind paying taxes if it's coming back to what we need. Like we're talking about healthcare in California. Why am I paying federal taxes if they're even putting Roe versus Wade on the table?
It's
like these are my judges.
It's taxation
F
with no
you.
representation.
Taxation with
It
no
is.
representation again.
Absolutely.
Where's my tea bag?
You said tea bag.
I did. I'm gonna throw it off the
You're gonna throw the tea bagging out there.
off the Brooklyn Bridge or whatever. It was in Boston, the Boston Tea Party,
Boston.
but you get it.
Oh, I was thinking you could get tea back to the party. No, but you're right. So like we either do that again, which is already like we're on the cusp of crazy Civil War revolution craziness, or we just deuce peace out. Like where are we gonna be when all that crazy hits the fan? Crazy's gonna hit the fan at some point.
It will, and I hope to be out in Puerto Rico for long enough that I have made all the mistakes farming, and so I know that, the iguanas eat my lettuce if I plant them here. You know, all those little things that, I learned in Iowa this last year trying to grow stuff. Like I had all this lettuce planted, and then
You had little worms.
yeah.
You had
I
little
didn't realize the
worms.
white moths that were so pretty that were floating around them were laying eggs
They lay
everywhere.
eggs.
And before I knew it, all my lettuce was gone. So those little mistakes that, people are going to make 20 years from now when they have to go decide and fend for themselves. I've already made those mistakes and I'm set up.
So
That's
here's
the
our
goal.
theory, listeners, and let me see if like my colleagues here agree with my theory. Okay, so at some point, Scott had some weird dream. He's like, "Am I already dead?" And I was like, "Okay, so we either died in 9/11. We're all in this collective weird Matrix dream, or 2016, David Bowie died and he made some like Star Child curse." And then Trump and then Prince was like Deuces, and then Trump was president, and now we've been living in this weird like alternate, like in Back to the Future 2, where they went to Biff's alternate
Right,
80s.
right.
Are we there? Because like
I
the
hope
fact
so,
that
'cause
these
then we
people
could
are
get
waiting for
back.
JFK,
Yeah, then there's a way back.
but you got to go back to before he gave him the sports almanac. You can't like just go back. You have to
Right.
like go. So here's the thing: what people are waiting for JFK Jr. to show up. Literally, like I feel like I'm watching a funny. Like really, this is for real. And nobody's like looking around going like, there's a serious problem.
America is crazy.
Like it's an forget the COVID. This is like an epidemic of wackadoo.
Well, yeah. I mean, they've been forcing alcohol down our throats since, prohibition ended. They've been
And
forcing
bad food.
bad food
Oh,
and
obesity.
pharmaceuticals, and they keep you watching your football game every Sunday and indoctrinating you with these
It's called
commercials.
Well, that's
Soma.
what I've
Any
s-
Aldous Huxley Brave New World readers.
Exactly.
We're Soma.
Absolutely. That's what I've been saying for, probably since about 2015 when shit really started to get really bad during that election, and then kind of watching all that, and everyone was like, Trump's not going to get elected. I was like, Trump's getting elected.
Oh, I
Like,
said absolutely he is.
and nobody wanted to listen to me. I was the crazy one, and I was like, okay, we'll just wait and see. But it's I wish it was alternate reality is what I wish.
It's just alternate facts.
Because then we could
exactly.
and we could have a DeLorean and like go like change it all. Like that was kind of fun, right?
Yeah. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. The thing is like people are like, oh, we got to protest. We got to do this. We got to do that. And it's like, okay, that's great. But the problem is that people are comfortable. Everyone has just
Absolutely.
enough.
To keep
You
complacent.
have just enough.
Yes.
You've got your phone. You've got your Netflix. You've got your whatever you've got. Everyone has just enough. And they make sure that you have just enough. Like not so much that you're succeeding, but enough to
Right.
keep you at work, to keep you asleep, to keep you
And
in your phone
we
and
even
on your
had
couch.
that little scare where there was no toilet paper, and look how crazy wackadoo people went.
Yeah.
Like if there was a serious problem, I would not trust society to overcome. Like
Well, I mean, it's
look what happened with toilet paper, for Christ's sakes.
And that was what, a week?
I could only imagine what it would be like being in a city like Los Angeles. Like, how many miles do you have to go before you're actually even out of the city?
Parable
or
of the
out
Sower, Octavia Butler.
Oh, that was a phenomenal book.
Like
was
Yes.
a
I would
great book.
love to produce that into a film.
Yes.
Anybody listening out there that has any money that would like to produce my adaptation of that book. But this is what's scary. I teach science fiction film also for film studies. Science fiction is becoming a thriller. It's becoming reality. And I'm not trying to be like weird. It really is. Soylent Green with, the food shortage. parable of the sower, with how, these gated communities are starting to be built, and it's the really, really, really poor, and then we got a wall. We don't care about you.
Only a matter of time before Walmart will have their gated community that if you work for Walmart, they're going to give you housing in that community.
And then you work at your corporate.
You work and you spend all your money in that little system.
But remember, the president in Parable of the Sower was like awful, like Trump, and then after him was like a kind of president that wasn't so bad, but
impotent
was
president.
impotent. So Biden,
Yeah.
I'm more scared of what's coming
Next, absolutely.
right? Like
Because
Trump
we're all
was
like,
an idiot.
oh, everything's fine now. Trump's gone. It's like,
No.
no.
It's not necessarily Trump in 2024.
Trump.
It's Josh Hawley. It's
Boebert,
what's her? Who's the crazy wackadoodle female?
the one that looks like a man. Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yes, yes. It's those
She's
people.
kind of
that scare-
manly, isn't she?
And unfortunately, they're Gen Xers. Well, I don't know if Holly is. He might be millennial,
Holly,
but
yeah.
he might be younger. But Taylor Greene certainly is.
But they see that's where the money is.
Yeah.
So is it even a thing about race, gender, or any of this, or just the money? Have money or
Those
you
are
don't?
the buttons that they push
Right.
to get their funding in. So it's like, I'll
And-
push this button, and then this blue button gets me money from
Right.
blue people, and the red button gets me money from red people, and they just keep the buttons pushed.
Yeah, but
And
all
they
of them.
just, it's the whole thing. I mean, if as long as we're fighting ourselves,
Right.
and we're
Here's your
constantly
crumbs, your
doing
Jim
this,
Crow crumbs.
yeah, exactly. Then we're not looking up,
Right.
where the real problem is. And so,
If black and white people are fighting each other over the stupid shit,
They don't
then we're
realize
over here
that-
doing the
because
thing.
then they'll never. I mean, that was the whole thing. That's how that's what white privilege was actually a political term that meant something like back when it started, which was like during the indentured servants, like the white people had the privilege of having an end date.
Right.
on it. Like,
you were done
that's
with your
horrible.
slavery. Like you were a slave, but then you were done at some point.
But that was all by design. But they did that on purpose because they looked and they saw all these different immigrants, and they were like, "Oh shit! If all of the immigrants realized that if they band together, they outnumber us 10-1."
Right.
That's
Then-
what happened in France. The
That's
French
exactly
Revolution.
right. And they've kept that here at bay by continuing to fund these different programs and putting different people in power at different places, so that we all stay against each
Poor
other.
white
and
people,
never look up.
Mexicans are taking your jobs.
Right.
It's
and
them
it's
is
not,
the
it's
you-
all
right.
from up here. And until we can
It's
stop
by design.
falling for that, and we look around and we go, we're all
In this together.
in this together.
Right.
Then they can keep controlling everything, and they can keep having all the money.
Right.
I mean, I don't know how to fix it, but that's the problem.
But what's the end game? I always wanted to ask like Bezos or somebody with all the money. Like, what's your end game? To have all the money in the world? You have so much money, you will never
Their
spend
end
it
game
all.
right now, it's obvious. They want Elysium. They want to be
It's Elysium,
on
dude.
Mars,
Like,
doing their thing in space, and then
mean,
just watching the Earth.
That is such a ridiculous thing, going to Mars.
Oh, absolutely.
that money could be so well spent here to take care of
The
problems
thing
here.
is you cannot colonize Mars. You
Well, I
can't
saw Total
colonize the
Recall.
moon. You
I saw
can't
Total Recall.
First of all, there's no water there.
Yeah, if you can terraform
How are we gonna get
Mars like
water?
they want to do, if you can terraform Mars like they want to do, why can't we solve global warming?
What-
Like,
doesn't
isn't that
make sense. Why don't we
terraforming Earth?
terraform Earth?
Yeah,
Exactly.
terraform Earth.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. You know why? Because in the Stepford Wives, they're like, "Why are you doing this?" And the guy goes, "Because we can."
But
Yeah,
it's also
exactly.
important for us to understand our place in the universe too. I think that there is something to the bigger picture, and until
You think they're going out there because it's profound? They're going
not
out there 'cause they got
Bezos and
big
Musk aren't.
balls.
That's why they're doing it. No, I'm saying the programs and stuff that we need the Hubble telescopes and those sorts of things. I
Yeah,
think it's
NASA.
important for us to understand where we are.
I
in
would
the-
not
in the-
live anywhere but Earth. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I saw
no.
2001:
You can't.
Space Odyssey.
Yeah, and you can't
no
live anywhere else.
oxygen.
You
other than Earth,
can't.
You know.
You can't. Like the infrastructure it would take. The
We can't even
the
get our roads
equipment
fixed here.
You can't get the equipment from here to there to be able to build what they would need to build to be able to make water and breathable air. Like you can't get it from there to here in little rocket ships. It would take centuries to be able to. I mean, it's ridiculous. There's no.
It's a waste of money.
It's a waste of money and time and my breath to even talk about it.
She wants her money back. She wants a refund. Sorry, listeners. You're gonna have to pay in. We're gonna have a hotline.
I'm
I
just
do-
saying
What is
it's
that when
so
they had all the telephones? You
stupid.
could call in and
It's
get
so
a
stupid.
donation
I agree
to pay
with
for
you that it's a
Rachel's
waste of money to
therapy.
colonize Mars, but I do think there's something to be said about studying it up close and getting to Mars.
Getting
but
to Mars,
colonize it,
absolutely.
absolutely not.
Right. Or for people to think like, oh, well, once we ruin Earth, we're just going to move
That's
to the
the
moon.
part
That's
that
the
bothers
kicker.
me.
Yeah.
Is that, oh, we have a backup plan. No, you don't. You
Because
fuck
it
up
gives
Earth,
you
you're
carte
done.
blanche to throw that piece of
I
trash
mean,
out
right
your
now we
window
can get
then,
what,
and-
like 5 people to space at a time. Like,
Ooh, good plan, guys.
how are we going to get all these people off the planet? Like,
Well, they're not planning to.
Well,
And that's the
right? In
thing.
Elysium, it was just the
Elysium,
elite
it's
that
just-
have
Right.
And what is that shitty movie 2012 where you had to have like 50 million euro because they already knew the Earth was gonna like be flooded.
Right.
But they had the Noah's Arks, but only the people with like bazillion dollars got on.
Right.
The rest of us. So until then,
Until
we'll be. If you like pina colada.
Yeah.
Until then, right? So,
Well,
like,
until
I
then,
can
I'm
sit
going to
here
write
and
the
worry
chapters
about
to my
it.
own life. I'm no longer
That's
going
what I'm
to.
saying. What Rachel says is true. What you said is true. So do I worry about it and freak out about it, or do I just enjoy the rest of my life as it
Enjoy.
is?
You enjoy the rest
We
of
got
your
20,
life.
30 years left, Rachel.
that's it.
Yeah.
What am I going to... I can't do any more anxiety. There's only so much Xanax and Valium in the world for
Well,
me.
and that's the thing. I don't think this
can't.
the United States is really dealing with the mental health problem that's going on right out.
We're
right now.
exhausted. We're burnt out. I'm sorry I did the table thing.
That's okay.
She even sent me a note, guys. She sent me a note like I was in high school.
I love it.
I just bet you are right.
Well, I sent you a text and you didn't answer
Well,
it.
whatever. I'm not texting while we're that defeats the purpose. I know somebody's like, "Are you going to do Zoom podcasts?" I'm like, "No, I'm anti."
We're gonna do podcasts while we drink Capri Sun.
Yeah,
I
we got
know.
Capri
Yeah.
Suns.
Yes.
This
Hey,
is
Capri Sun. You want to
this is
sponsor
Mario
us?
us?
Brothers
Sponsor
for the
us.
House of Gucci. This is in honor of House of Gucci, dialect coach, the Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
Is a meatball. So the whole point of this podcast, in conclusion, because we're going to, let's start wrapping it up, is that there's no shame in me saying deuces. There's no shame in me saying I am not going to conscribe to this way of life that was laid out for us, that we were indoctrinated with, that if you just did this, go to school, do this, you'll be fine. It hasn't worked for me. It's not working for people anymore.
No.
Deuces.
Is that it?
That should be it. I mean, I don't know what else left to say. That
We
sounded
never
like the
know how
end.
to end it.
Deuces. That was it.
And scene.
Deuces.
Okay.
I think that's it.
Cut.
Cut.